What is up, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of the Dense Pixels podcast. For the first time in a long time, the whole ass crew is here. Joined, of course, by my co-host, Micah.
Hey.
Carrie.
What's up?
Terrence.
What's going on? I don't know how many people will listen to this show and not the rest of the...
That's true.
If you've listened to everything else, you've seen me and everything.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point. That's a fair point.
Watch, know that I have glasses. Can't fucking see. I hate it.
People, the listeners still get really excited whenever you come on Dense Pixels, though. Probably.
I gotta tell you, man. I gotta tell. I was talking to a couple friends of mine the other day that I haven't spoken to in a long time, and he was like, he listens to all the shows, and he's like, "Yeah, man, I haven't seen you in a long time, but it feels like I've you know, we haven't skipped a beat, right?" Because he listens to all the podcasts, and he's like, you know, Terrence is my favorite. And I'm like, all right, all right. You're supposed to be my friend. You don't know him. Get out of here.
It's probably me. I'm not, but I could be.
Oh my goodness. So, well, and listeners will be excited to know something that I found out in the recent weeks, that Terrence has joined me and kind of Carrie in the PC Master Race. We're
now,
all
calm down. That's not what I did. The laptop that I had, like, it just shit the bed, and I needed something really quick. So I bought a mini PC. It was like $250 because I needed something. It's kind of dope. It's allowed me to play a bunch of stuff. I literally haven't played any games in like 3 years. Nothing. I don't have a system. I don't have a handheld. I don't have anything. But yeah, it allowed me to play a couple games. You want me to tell you what they were, or do you want to go first? Or?
I mean, give us like some of your highlights. Recently.
Well, right now I'm playing BlazBlue Entropy Effect. I asked you if you heard of it.
And I had.
Week.
Yeah.
Yeah, it came out last January. A year old. It's a roguelike. That's all I've been playing, honestly. It's a side-scrolling roguelike with all the BlazBlue characters, with all the special moves that they have from the actual fighting game. There's an overarching story to it. BlazBlue's story never makes any fucking sense to begin with. I don't know it's just silly. It's silly nonsense. But the game itself is dope. Like you do runs, you pick a character and you do your run, and you get special moves. You get they call them tactics as special moves. The regular moves you have to like build your character up using their like regular moves, and you go from room to room and you pick up, I believe they call them potentials as their regular moves. Tactics give you like special moves. You can add like flames, ice, fire damage, lightning damage, and things like that. And once you finish a run, whether you finish it or not, you can take that character's run, and then you can pick two specialties from that run, and then you can save that character. And then once you pick another character, you can choose up to two of the characters that you saved and put them and blend them together for your next run, and you have two specialty things from the two runs that you did prior. That's pretty cool. Like it's fun. It was cheap. I have 10 hours in it already, and I've only completed like 5 runs out of 30 so far. So
does it matter who you pick? Like, because it's a fighting game, different characters do different things, right? Like, does it matter?
Mm-hmm. The characters definitely play different. They all have different moves. The actual when you save a character, they kind of get samey depending on the style of play that you have. Like I do a lot of like poison and lightning. So I have a lot of runs saved as poison and lightning, and that helps me get through the levels. But yeah, each character plays very different. I suck with some of them, and I'm really good with S. I think her name is S. I've beaten it multiple times with her. The next game I played is another roguelike called Astral Ascent. Have you heard of that?
It sounds familiar, but I know I've never played it.
That's another one. Side-scrolling roguelike, similar to Hades. Once you die, you go back, and it furthers the story. It just adds story beats to it. That's a very good one. And I did a lot of emulation also, since it's a very good emulation. Yeah,
I bet it is.
It plays everything up to PlayStation 3, honestly, pretty well. So I've been playing Marvel Ultimate Alliance.
Hey man,
I really love that game.
Games.
Right? I love that game.
Love
that one games. In particular, I love that game. The the biggest issue I have with that game, well, those games in general, are the boss fights, are the worst boss fights in video game history, right? Because every boss fight is just, you get to the boss, and it's 4 people. Like, and the person that you play, they always target the person that you were in control of. The boss does. So like, they all have AoE attacks that knock you across the screen if you're not holding the block button, and you're doing damage. Your other teammates ain't really doing shit, but getting knocked across the screen. So basically, what you have to do is right before you fight a boss, just pick one person. Just fight him 1-on-1, because the other 3 people are worthless. But yeah, I've been running through that. I played like SmackDown Here Comes the Pain, which is like the best wrestling game of all time. I've actually started playing Metroid Prime. Never played that before.
Oh yeah, okay.
I'm like 75% done with that game. That game is really fucking good, guys. I don't know if you heard that 25-year-old game.
I don't know if you've heard about this Mr. Metroid, but
it's really good.
I'm
playing on the original GameCube. No, it's really good. Like, it took me like an hour to get used to the control scheme, because the GameCube has one of the worst controllers of all time. But I'm we are an anti GameCube controller podcast.
Look,
it has been well
I
heard
that. I understand.
all the episodes.
I'm the lone vote in favor of GameCube controller, but it's fine. I'll sit on.
But I'm playing it on like a PlayStation 4 controller, right? But still, it's so fucking weird with it. It's stupid. But yeah, I had to get used to that. That game's very good. I tried the Mario games, and I was like, nope, I'm not doing that. Yeah, it's just a whole bunch of old school shit. Nothing else really. Oh yeah, I finished Hi-Fi Rush, and I started playing because I got the Game Pass for $1.99 for 14 days. So I was like, fuck it, let me go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
And see what this thing can do. I wanted to see how good this chip was in this little thing. It's really dope. Like, it's the palm of my hand. It's awesome. I'm thinking about getting a better one, like one that maybe like $400 and $500. And I did play a little bit of Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. It didn't run very well.
Yeah, I say probably didn't work too well.
It was running at like maybe 25 frames per second, with everything on low settings. But once again, I'm very good at that game because of the trials and tribulations I went through 15, 20 years ago. So I managed to get to level 4 before I was like, I can't do this no more. I'm getting a headache. The fucking frame rate is horrible. I can't do this. And so I deleted it. But yeah, that game is really good. Still good. Still just as hard as it ever was.
Are you watching do you watch like Retro Game Core on YouTube?
No, never heard of it.
Okay, you should like with this journey you're embarking on, like that would be a good channel to check out, because all he does is talk about like emulation and running and using like those low spec PCs to run to bleed performance out of them as much as possible and that sort of thing. So
yeah, I had to download a program that gives that because it's running at, I think it's at its base is like running at 15 TDP. Mm-hmm. So I had to download the program so I can get it to run at 35, so I can get the most get the most out of it, so I can run some of these games. And like, look, man, I haven't played anything in 3 years. It's doing what I needed to do, and I play like indie games anyway. Oh yeah, and Dave the Diver is very fun also.
Yeah,
forgot about that. Dave the Diver is very fun.
Dude, I'll tell you, if you're thinking about spending like $500 on another indie PC, maybe consider getting a Steam Deck instead, because
I was thinking about that, or like some handheld that I can just like hook up to a screen.
Yeah, because you can absolutely do that with that as well. So that might be the good way to go, doing that. So that's cool though. Like I said, that's neat, because I'm noodling around with a little bit of that stuff too, because I buy my stupid Chinese handhelds and fuck around with that.
Yeah, I saw that little. When I was looking at I listened to last week's episode, and I saw that little silly thing.
Oh, the Playdate. The Playdate is not a Chinese handheld. The Playdate's like a legit thing. I'm talking about like the Anbernic, like the fucking not Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Advance
thing.
Yeah, so that they came
you have
out.
Several of those.
Oh, Anbernic has so many. Like imagine like a retro hand. Oh, me? Yeah, I have like 2 or 3. Just because they're so, like, I mean, they're whatever. Like, they're fun to fuck around with. Gave one to my wife so she can fuck around with retro stuff too, because she likes playing old Sega Genesis games and things like that. So yeah. I finished up Prince of Persia: Lost Crown. Boy howdy, I really wish I'd fucking played that last year. It would have knocked Astrobot down to number 4 in my
Oh,
top
wow.
10 list. Yeah, it was really good. It's real good, and I'm not even like 100%ing it. But yeah, just like I said, takes. Oh, and by the way, Micah, you'll be pleased. I've heard apparently the new accepted genre terminology for that type of game is search action games now, so we don't have to worry about.
Good.
Yeah.
So we don't have to worry about stupid portmanteaus.
No, we don't have to worry about portmanteaus. But it really does take like the best elements of like the best search action games and just kind of combines them. Like it has like the platforming.
I don't
and
like
the,
that.
You don't like that?
Search action.
Yeah.
That sounds stupid. I'm sorry. That's dumb.
Fine. Metroidvania. Fine.
I'm not even gonna call it that either. I mean, they're just side-scrolling,
Adventure games. But like it takes like the combat from like Hollow Knight. It takes like the platforming and the mobility from like a Guacamelee, and it takes kind of like the cinematic flair from like a Metroid and things of that nature. Boss fights, the last two boss fights were really entertaining, so definitely check that out. The other game that I've been playing while I've been waiting for Civilization to come out, which is happening later this week, is Dome Keeper, which has been on my list for a little while. And I like Dome Keeper, but there's some things that are going to hold it back. What the game is it's kind of a mashup of like a Super Motherlode or a Dig Dug, where you're like mining for resources. And then you're going to use those resources, like digging into the ground to do that. And then you're going to use those resources to buy upgrades. And the other half of the game is like a tower defense game where on the surface, enemies will attack your dome in waves that are timed out. And you have to try to, keep them back with the different weaponry that's attached to your dome and the different upgrades that you buy. And the game really kind of just vacillates between those two concepts, where like you have a couple minute session where you're digging, and then you have to come up and defend the dome. And essentially the premise of the game is there's a relic somewhere in the earth that you have to uncover and bring up to the dome to win the run. It's a run-based game, but it's not a roguelike, if that makes sense. The core loop is good, and there's a fair amount of variety, because kind of balancing, digging versus coming up to defend is a good. It's got a good gameplay loop. Obviously, the waves of enemies get more difficult as you go, get into the game. So you have to kind of pay attention and, balance your upgrades between weaponry and defense, but also like mobility for your little miner, because it's just the one dude that you have to fly around down there and, upgrade your drill and all that stuff. And it's cool because like they have different domes that have different abilities that you can unlock. So like the basic dome that you get has an additional shield, which will, soak a bunch of damage. So that doesn't get you to your dome, but then they have like an orchard that grows fruit that makes your miner like move faster and drill faster for a temporary like boost of speed. And then you have different weapons. Like the default weapon is like a laser that you can slide across the top of the dome. And then I played with like a sword, which is weird because like the sword kind of slides, it like sticks out from the dome and slides along the circumference. And basically like to attack melee enemies, like you have to like slide it from one side to the other and like smash them on the other side of the dome, if that makes sense. So core loop is good. The reason that I'm a little bit less happy about it is because the other game modes outside of the core loop are not as good. They have like a challenge mode, right? Where like one challenge is like, hey, like all of the enemies are like they save up to attack in one big wave. So like you basically go through 20 waves of gathering without an enemy attack. So you have all this time to gather, upgrade, and then all of the enemies come at the end, and you have to survive that. And the problem is when you do that is like, cool, like I did this run where I'm gathering all these resources, and it took me a half an hour to do that because it takes like a half an hour to get through that session. But then if you lose at the enemy attack, like it's a feels bad moment where it's like, wow, I just wasted 35 fucking minutes and I don't know what I did wrong because I don't understand like what I could have done differently to fend off that attack because all these enemies came in and just, fucking waxed me. So like that part is a little bit not as great. There's also like a prestige mode that I have not unlocked yet. So Dome Keeper is good. I don't know if it's going to hold my attention long term. It's something I could see coming back to periodically, but I feel like once I exhaust kind of the joy out of that main relic hunt mode, that there's not going to be a whole lot. I don't feel like I'm going to be compelled to go back and master the game, if that makes sense. So it's a good distraction. It's a good game, but I don't know that it's a great game. And there's certainly other games in this kind of sort of run-based genre that I think are a better time overall, a better overall package. So that's Domekeeper. Micah, you've gone back to the classic well a little bit.
Yeah, in my quest to try and relate to my son, I started playing Need for Speed Hot Pursuit Remastered. One, because it was free. And two, because he likes police cars, which means I'm not doing my job as a parent.
blame the Paw Patrol. It's all their fault. So.
Yeah, exactly. So he's really into cop cars. So I said, hey, let's play this video game that's got cop cars in it. And I just wanted to show him, right? Because I wanted to play it. But he was like, I want to play, and I'm like, all right, this is how you go, this is how you stop, and you use this to move. And it's just running straight into a wall, right? He doesn't really have the concept down of steering. So I said, okay. So I told him, sit on my lap, you hold this button, the right trigger, which is accelerate, with your right hand, and I will steer and brake with my left hand. So it's two hands holding one controller, trying to stop race cars. We found that we prefer to be cops busting racers and not racers getting chased. That game still holds up, man. It's really good, and the auto log system, it still works. It's still when I see, oh, you are such and such tenths of a second behind Brad, and I'm like, oh, you all right, let's try this again, right? And we do it, and then it's like, hey, you just beat Brad's time. Do you want to post it on your wall? And I'm like, yeah, he'll never see it, but there it is.
Well, now that I know you're erasing my times, we might have to re-download it.
The only problem with that game is that you have to do a lot of duplicate races in order to kind of unlock things, right? It's not based on a medal system, even though you get medals for each of the events. You have to earn a certain amount of reputation or points or whatever, and in order to do that, you got to grind, and it's a big grind, and it's a really big grind when you got a 6-year-old who's like, I want to play a different one, and there are only so many hot pursuits that we can do. Right? He doesn't even want to do the one-on-one hot pursuits. He's like, nah, I want to get all of them. I want to get all 4 or 5 of them. So we got to play the same thing over and over again, and it's just a real grind. But yeah, that game holds up. It's still really, really fun. Still looks pretty good. I mean, it's a racing game. It's really difficult to make those look ugly. Yeah, I had a good time, man. If you have a kindergartner who aims to be a narc one day, play Need for Speed Hot Pursuit Remastered.
If you have a kindergartner, I also do not recommend that you have them play the game Narc. That would probably not be good for them. You young kids out there, you can look that up on YouTube.
I remember those. I was a single-digit child playing Narc in the arcade, which I probably shouldn't have been, because the fuck was wrong with my parents?
They didn't know. They didn't understand the graphical prowess of Narc back in the late 80s. So
then I got it for Nintendo. So why not?
That version had to be a little bit toned down compared to the arcade version.
A little bit toned
down?
Yeah,
I would assume.
It was very much so.
And Carrie, you don't have a video. Well, I guess you do have a video game to talk about, but not in the traditional sense.
It's a game to talk about, but not in the traditional sense. Yeah, so I haven't really been able to play anything in the last week, or really recently at all, because between working on getting prepared for MagFest a couple of weeks ago, and then coming back from MagFest and immediately having to prepare for another gig, which was last night in Sacramento, which was also a lot of fun. I love a little shithead gig. It was a weirdo bill. It was us, like a gay goth vampire band, a free jazz duo that was like drums and saxophone just playing for 25 minutes straight until they were basically just told, okay, your time is up. And then they were like, all right, we're done, bye. And then the headliner was a band called Slam Taro, which was a different like drum and saxophone duo. But the saxophone guy also has a bass guitar. And I can only describe it as like anime power violence. They just kind of have to be experienced. I can't really accurately describe them. Yeah, so I am working on actual music for an actual video game that should be out this year. So if you follow my socials, you probably saw me talk about this a few days ago. But my boyfriend and I are part of the music team for an upcoming little indie game called Toho Farming Minariko's Homestead Harvest, which will be releasing on Steam later this year. The game itself is almost done. It's basically the music that has to be done. So we are part of a team of a couple different composers and arrangers. So it is a Toho game. So the thing about Toho as a franchise is that the creator of the Toho series, Zune, basically treats it as like open source, where so long as you abide by like his like creative standards and like credit him as the creator of Toho, you can kind of do whatever you want. And you don't have to like necessarily even pay him licensing fees or anything like that, which is pretty crazy. Basically all he wants is his name in the credits. That's it. So that's why if you go on Steam and you just search Toho, you'll find official Toho games. You'll find a bunch of official Toho games because like the official releases have been up there for the last few official like actual Zune created Toho games. But then there's a shit ton of fan games. And all of them have like in their description, like this game is released like in conjunction with Team Shanghai Alice's like fan works, you know, that sort of deal. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. If you've listened to this podcast for any length of time, you know I'm a big fan of farming sims. And if you've listened to it for a long time, then you know I'm a fan of Toho. So this is a pretty exciting thing for me to be working on, to take some of Zune's classic Toho pieces and to rearrange them into cozy farm sim kind of vibes. So I've already been working on some sketch tracks for that. I'll be tackling a lot of the seasonal themes, as well as some of the like individual character themes and stuff that you hear kind of around town. And then the other composers will be working on kind of the other half of the seasonal themes, and then there's someone else who's doing dedicated like battle and boss themes for the kind of adventure area of the game. So yeah, more details on that, but you can look up the game on Steam and go ahead and wishlist that now. The creator of the game, the person who's actually developing it, expects it to retail for about $10 when it comes out, so super affordable. And we're hoping to kind of have everything done and the game out by the end of the summer, basically. So this is a pretty quick turnaround as far as music is concerned. So that's where my bandwidth and my time has to go to, because this is a paid gig. So
well, that's very cool. Like I said, it's gonna be neat to have your name in some musical credits. So
yeah, so yeah, very exciting to actually be working on actual music for actual games that people will actually be able to play. So if you're into Toho or farming sims, or ideally both, definitely check that out. The game itself looks really cool. The trailers don't have any sound yet because literally the dude was like, I don't know how to do rearranging. Like So he has all these like gameplay trailers that are just, silent basically, but it looks like just a very cute, kind of Stardew Valley inspired experience that is just Toho characters instead. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I've been a fan of Toho since I started playing it in like 2008. So definitely a perfect little cross section of my interests personally. And if you're not interested in playing the game, we do plan on releasing the soundtrack separately on Spotify and on Bandcamp. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Well, we're going to take a pretty quick break here. When we come back, something that you would not expect to see during the wintertime, and that is a shitload of news on the other side. All right, so it is like a legit news week. There's a lot of shit that's happened since we last recorded, which is kind of wild for this time of year in the gaming industry. First story, and this is just a quick follow-up from last week. We talked about how Marvel Snap, in the wake of getting caught in the crosshairs of the TikTok ban, because they were also published by a company whose parent company was ByteDance, the owners of TikTok. And they said, this is bullshit, took the game offline for more than a week, had to do a make good with a lot of players to apologize. And they said, look, we're going to find a new publisher so this shit does not happen again. And they have already done it, basically. They have already decided to leave. Newverse was their old publisher. And now they are going to be published by Skystone Games, which is a US-based indie publisher. So, not that ByteDance will necessarily miss the income from Marvel Snap, even though it is pretty substantial. But good job by you, ByteDance, for your performative outrage a couple weeks ago. The first big story, not a good story. So, in the wake of EA's fourth quarter earnings call that they put out, they talked about how both Dragon Age and FIFA underperformed their expectations for 2024 in terms of bringing in revenue. I want to say Dragon Age, I think they said sold close to 3 million copies, which seems like a lot, but not anymore in this day and age.
Yes, it is.
Not when you're EA and the game's been in development for 10 years, Terrence. That's not how
maybe
they
not. But what did they expect? Who are projecting these numbers? And these companies keep closing.
People who make more money probably than the four of us combined, I would imagine.
Yeah, I understand that, but they don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
They don't.
Clearly, they never know what they're talking about because we expected to do 6 million units and we only did 1.5 million, so we got to shutter the studio. Okay.
Well, they're not quite shuttered yet, but
I'm talking about just in general. This is a big trend that's been going on for the last few years, which is
so in the wake of this news, right? BioWare's I think it was their general manager released a blog post last week where they talked about we're restructuring the studio, and right now we're just working on Mass Effect 5, so we don't need the full studio. So we've transferred a lot of folks to other areas in EA to help out with some other projects that they have going on and all that jazz. Well, behind that statement were actually a bunch of layoffs where they laid off a bunch of staff at BioWare, and it's been discovered that a lot of these, quote, temporary transfers, where they were transferring team members to help out other studios, are now permanent transfers, where they have essentially relocated a bunch of staff within other studios in EA. And now it's being reported that BioWare is down to less than 100 employees as they move through pre-production, right? They might be in full production at this point for the new upcoming Mass Effect game. Micah, are you as terrified as I am that we might very well not see this new Mass Effect because it does not portend good tidings?
Yeah, I don't think you'll see it, and if you do see it, I think it won't be. It's not going to live up to what I have in my head for what Mass Effect 4 is going to be, and I don't really have anything in my head for what Mass Effect 4 is going to be yet. But the fact that you are culling half of your staff can't really be good for morale if you want to create something, like that's something that like people don't understand who don't create stuff. They just fund stuff. Like in order to create, you got to kind of be in a mood, man. Like, pull back the curtain a little bit. I took a break last week, and a couple of our other shows took a break last week. We just weren't in the
we weren't
mood
in
to
the
do
fucking mood.
We're feeling it.
it. So, and when stuff like that, when morale is low, it translates, right? If everyone's on edge, if everyone is fearful of their jobs, that stuff comes through on the page or in what you create. And bean counters don't really care about that. They only care. They look at what happened last year, and they say, okay, well, we got to beat it by this percentage points this year. And creativity just doesn't work like that, man. Not good creativity. So look, man, I feel really bad for people who have lost their jobs. Yeah, I don't even know what to say anymore because it's like none of this is going to change. And I, yeah, man, I just feel really bad. I feel really bad for people. And not just like, oh, I'm not going to get my game, right? Like I'm at a point in
These
my
are
life,
people's
man, where I'm
livelihoods,
just
right?
right,
Like,
yeah, right,
that's really
like
what it boils down to. But what what happened with Veilguard stinks on a number of levels, right? Like, because it's a game that entered development in 2015 and then first entered development as a fucking live service game because that was the hotness, right? That's what everything had to be in 2015 before they were like, "Oh, maybe we shouldn't do that."
Well, after Anthem
Um
crashed and burned was when they
after
decided
Anthem crashed and
that.
burned, and then after they saw other, just regular ass single player games like God of War and Jedi Fallen Order be massively successful. And so this was a game that was like reworked numerous times over the course of this like decade long development cycle. And so rather than coming out within what would be considered like a reasonable amount of time after Inquisition, because people forget Inquisition came out just 3 years after Dragon Age 2. Um, you know, but it took them 10 years to get out Veilguard after Inquisition. After Inquisition left on a bit of a cliffhanger regarding Solus. And so you had all these fans that were so amped up for this franchise that then were just left to kind of sit. And so Veilguard came out, and Veilguard was, you know, by no means a bad game. I personally still haven't played it, but as someone who was like a huge fan of Inquisition, like I lost interest. Like I lost interest in the franchise in the decade that it took them to get Veilguard finished and out. Because they couldn't make up their minds as far as what they wanted to actually do with this game and these characters and this franchise. So there was all of this staff turnover, all of this, wishy-washiness as far as like the style of game they even wanted to fucking make. And so it came out and it was good, a solid, 7.5, 8 out of 10 game, right? Something like 68% on Open Critic, which is like, it's fine.
Ooh,
Like
it's that low on.
yeah.
Ooh, it hurts.
So which is
Is that
like,
because of like expectation as opposed to what the game is?
I think it's a little
Or
bit of
what?
both.
Micah played it, right?
It's both. It's both.
I think it's both.
There's for every one really good thing, there's two things that there's one thing for every one good thing. There's one thing that's annoying, but I can get over, and then there's one thing that I can't. And it didn't. Expectations should have been set reasonably for this game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's tough And of course, this being an EA owned property, they of course had lofty sales goals that it was never going to actually be able to meet. So they only ever sold like 50% of what EA thought it was going to sell, because the bean counters are so completely out of touch with, the actual fan base. And, for me, like, this game lost me as a fan in the decade that it took them to actually get the game finished and out. Like, I was like, we can go back in the history of this podcast and listen to me rave about how much I loved Inquisition. Inquisition was a game I loved so much when it came out that I finished it and then immediately went back and played it a second time. And I can count on one hand the amount of games that I have done that with, where I was like, immediately like, again, I need to do this again. And I could give a shit about the Veilguard. Like, for me, it'll be like, okay, like when it hits PlayStation Plus and it's free, I guess I'll play it.
Yeah.
Well,
consider this too, like to the point that you're making. Let's assume the new Mass Effect comes out in 2028, which I think would be an optimistic prediction right now. It will be 11 years since Andromeda released, and it'll have been 16 years since Mass Effect 3 released, and that's if it comes out in 2028. Now, Mass Effect obviously as a series probably has more sticking power than Dragon Age does. I think it's just I think it's widely more popular. That's still a really fucking long time.
I think it's more popular and it's more unique than Dragon Age, but it's still an enormously long time. It's like I literally think the only franchise that is going to have a shot in hell at taking its sweet ass time between releases is Elder Scrolls in that kind of high fantasy setting, and releasing to the same kind of like massive critical and commercial success. I think Elder Scrolls 6 is probably going to come out and do gangbusters to the same way that that Skyrim did, just because you've got lunatics like me who've continued to buy Skyrim on every system that Todd Howard puts it on. I could release it for my fucking microwave and I would play it. But look, it's, troubled development and 10 years in development hell, and this is what you get. It's by all means a perfectly cromulent action RPG experience, but it particularly in a year, 2024 was a year with a lot of very good role-playing games, very unique role-playing games. And Veilguard didn't do much of anything to stand out amongst a kind of crowded pack either. So, What are you gonna do?
Like I said, I hope that I really hope this is not the end for Bioware, but I struggle to see unless they do get to finish Mass Effect, and unless it's like an uber success. That might be the studio's swan song. This story turned into nothing because of the developing news of the day. But look, the ESA sucks, and even they don't want fucking tariffs to come into play for Mexico and Canada. The ESA earlier in the week, or actually earlier today, I should say, basically pleaded in a statement that they issued to Kotaku for the Trump administration to consult with the private sector in a transparent process, as instituting tariffs in Canada and Mexico would harm everyday Americans and also game developers alike. I talked about this a couple weeks ago when dipshit first started floating 25% tariffs with Mexico and Canada. I mean, look, every single physical game that releases in North America is printed in Mexico. So automatically you'd be putting that tax onto every game physical that comes over, and you say, okay, well, they'll raise the price of physical, but they won't digital. No, they need to keep price parity, so they would absolutely raise the price on both.
Mexico did. He halted for a month so far. Because he got they got the 10,000, troops that Biden also got back in like 20.
Yeah, the 10,000 troops they already. And Canada, or he also backed down from Canada. Because Canada promised, and again, we'll talk about this in more detail.
You want your Crown Royal, nigga? You better shut the fuck up. Anyway, I'm sorry.
No, they promised to spend $1.3 billion on funding for protection at the border, the Canadian border. which they announced they would do in December, while Joe Biden was still president. So, but because they excised, he excised that concession from them, he decided to suspend instituting tariffs. Look, the real reason why tariffs are not happening is because my man took one look at the stock market on Monday and decided that discretion might be the better part of valor. That's all this is.
Yeah.
That's all this is. So,
meanwhile, it's led to me having to put out many fires at my job.
I'm sure.
I am a marketing copywriter. If I have to put out fires at my job, you know shit's fucked. Like, I have a very low stress job, but I got Canadian franchise members that are very unhappy.
So it was the topic of conversation today for my job. We get stuff from Mexico and Canada all the time, and we're just like, oh, we gotta start. Maybe I have to think about this, but no. Like I said, more on look forward. We'll talk a lot more about tariffs there. This is not necessarily the show for that conversation, but just know that the arsonist put out the fire that he started, and got nothing in return. That's the moral of the story there. So.
Get your politics out of my video games, Brad.
Well, hey, speaking of people I wish would get the fuck out of video games. Look, the inevitable end of the Dr. Disrespect saga happened. The studio Midnight Society that he helped found, that then fucking kicked him to the curb when it was shown that he very likely was sexting with minors, unfortunately had to close their doors after 3 years, which means 55 developers are out of a job. I guess without Dr. Disrespect at the helm, they found it difficult to go on from a financial standpoint. But don't you worry about the doc, because literally on the same day that this news was announced, it was also announced that he reapplied for monetization on YouTube and got it. So he will be just fine. Don't you worry. Plenty of time later on to send illicit text messages to people under the age of 18.
I need someone to just like hit that dude with a hammer. Like,
I need
it could be me.
Several people at this point.
You know,
naming no names, but you know.
Look, sick of that dude. He is one of several people that needs to be hit with a hammer, preferably in the face. Like, I'm so tired of these dudes who are caught being just the absolute most scumbag pieces of shit on earth. Like, out here cheating on his wife in public, going into bathrooms and filming people, sexting minors, and he's just like getting his fucking job back, and continues to have numerous fans online who will froth at the mouth if you so much as bring up any of the numerous shithead things that dude has done. Make it make sense,
to be a
man.
White man,
like,
Brad?
Yeah, right. Like,
I don't know that I have this level of privilege.
No, I'm not saying you did any of this. I'm
Yeah.
just saying it must be great. It must be really fucking amazing.
I mean, it feels normal to me. I've never known any. I've never known any other life. So
you know, you don't have to really worry about much. You know,
yeah.
You know.
At worst, right?
Yeah, I get to be affable and easygoing, and not have to fucking have a minor panic attack whenever I see a fucking cop car roll up behind me while I'm driving. So yeah, I mean that's kind of what it's like. Like when you see a cop car, you just get to be like, oh, okay, no problem, and not
He must be going after the black guy in front of me.
Yeah, and not have an existential crisis about how your day might change.
Hey pig, how's it going? Like, great, sir.
So, but yeah, like I said, I can't imagine a greater sense of white privilege of getting your fucking revenue back on the same day that 55 people lost a job because of the dumb shit that you did.
The shit that you did.
Yeah, left.
I hope that this dude. I don't look. I've never watched 1 minute of Dr. Disrespect, but he's not like gloating about this, is he?
Oh, that's his shtick. That's his whole fucking thing.
I'm sure.
I don't think he's gloating about the studio closing, but I'm sure he's fucking pumping his chest about, getting remonetized on YouTube.
Okay, I mean that's expected, but like, I would hope that like, he wouldn't be so crass as to be like, haha, fuck you.
Yeah, give it 2
Society.
weeks. Give it 2 weeks. I'm sure his shitty fan base will find the way to rile him up on stream and go with it. We'll see. Bad news. Multiversus, the Warner Brothers branded Smash Brothers style fighting game that came out in early access, disappeared.
Fighting game of the year, Brad. Fighting game of the year for like 2 years.
Really?
Yep.
One, yeah, because the early access beta won, and then the release won.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, I guess the people that voted for it were the only ones playing it because so it went away.
It's gone.
It came back,
For
and
real
now
this
it's
time.
now it's going away again. So the studio announced that the 5th season of Multiversus is going to be the season's last, which ends on May 30th. They said the game still will be available offline for the foreseeable future. However, from the end of January, you can't buy in-game currency anymore, which is good. That you can't spend money on this game that's about to go offline. But also, they're going to be pulling the game off of stores after this May 30th date goes by. So though if you have it installed, you'll theoretically still be able to play it offline. You won't be able to download any new copies. Which again, I fucking don't understand. Like, if you're gonna have an offline version of the game and it's free to play, why don't you just fucking leave it up for people so that people can enjoy it as much as they want to? Like, it's just stupid to me that, like, even with these games that just fucking fizzle out and fail, that there's no, posterity, being out there. And again, maybe with this because it's a licensing issue. Obviously, like, there's a fucking shitload of people and characters in this game, so I could see that being the reason why. But yeah, so I mean, sucks for fans of the game, sucks for the studio. But I think we all foresaw this as a likely outcome. It's not often that a game goes releases, unreleases, and then releases again, and things go swimmingly well.
Yeah, I just the whole thing is an exercise in everything that I hate about, like, the commodification of art. Right? Like, we have Game of Thrones, which at one point was one of the most intriguing television shows ever. And you take Arya Stark, right? And you say, what would it look like if Arya Stark fought LeBron James? What the fuck are we doing? What is this, man? Like, I just don't.
Arya Stark is in this game.
Yeah, Arya Stark is in this game.
Yeah.
Arya Stark, that violent Arya Stark is in a game fighting Bugs Bunny. Like it's the thing that I hate about Fortnite. It's just like, hey, let's just have Ryu with a gun. Like,
so you're telling me that you expect David Zaslav not to use all those licenses for monetary gain? Come on, Micah.
Is he or is he not the worst CEO of all time?
I mean, I would argue that Elon Musk is the worst CEO of all time, but David Zaslav is definitely in the top 5 worst CEOs. If you're talking about like an entertainment company, yeah, I think David Zaslav is.
I mean, it's an entertainment company. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
like, Elon Musk is a horrible human being who,
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep that to myself. But David Zaslav is just like a terrible businessman.
Speaking of
He's
people,
just
who
fucking
needs
awful.
to be beaten with hammers.
Yeah, exactly. Like, running that damn company directly into the ground. Yeah, that sucks. But like, I didn't play the game. I didn't know anyone that did play the game. How is Kill the Justice League doing? Is that still even a thing?
Oh no,
Is it dead yet?
no, that's dead. That's
No,
that's gone.
They killed
Yeah,
it?
yeah. They
put it
had
on. They put it on PlayStation Plus this month.
Like I said, I'm pretty sure the last like update comes out this month sometime, and then I think the game's going into.
It's a year old now, right?
Yeah, I think it's going into maintenance mode after this next update
Maintenance
comes out.
mode?
That's
What
what
does
they.
that mean?
That means they're not updating the game anymore after that.
Oh.
So, but it's an online game, so it has to still stay connected. But they're just leaving it as it is, and that's
$200 million failure.
Yep. Yeah. Speaking of games with long development cycles, look, man, you can as and I'm talking about David Zaslav here. A wise person once told me, you can either change your people or you can change your people. Well, like that's kind of the fucking choices that you have. If I were the board of WB, I would think about
what the fuck.
Yeah,
it's almost like when you put like people that don't know what the fuck they're doing in positions of power, like bad shit happens.
Yeah,
you know, it's weird how that works.
Yeah, but hey, as long as the right people get paid, right? That's all that really.
But as long as you make all the money in the world, and you know, you fire people that actually do all the work, and you still get to keep all the money that you did make, and that's what we got. You know what? Keep your politics out. You know,
no, we're not done with the politics stories because we got one later on.
Irritating.
Don't worry about it. But a couple lighter news. So if there were any doubts that Xbox or that Microsoft Games is now a third-party publisher, I believe those doubts have all but evaporated as they have announced that Forza Horizon 5 is coming to PlayStation this spring, which is kind of wild to say.
Oh, man. Well,
hey, Halo and Gears when? Certainly by the end of the year, right? It's got to be.
Yeah. PlayStation Plus. Wow. Well, I mean, it was inevitable, right?
Yeah.
They don't really care about the system anymore. Which,
kind of makes all that console war stuff kind of dumb.
Kind of silly, right? Speaking of which, I told you, I played Hi-Fi Rush, and they got rid of that company, right? I mean, it was bought by another public distributor.
That is correct, yes.
Why did they shut it? Why? That game was amazing.
Well, you see, Terrence, they wanted to
drop.
They needed to focus on games that would be award winners, like Hi-Fi Rush. So therefore, it was necessary to close the studio that made Hi-Fi Rush.
Right, again, and let's not forget that game came out just surprise drop.
Yeah, just happened.
It was just like,
by the way, here's this thing we didn't tell anyone that we were working on from a studio you'd never expect to be working on it, and it's fucking excellent, by the way,
and it's amazing.
Yeah,
that game gave me Devil May Cry vibes.
Yeah, I knew you'd love it. Did you play it on my recommendation, or had you played it before?
I played a little bit of it, but
okay.
But yeah, that game is very good, and they just shuttered that. They just got rid of them.
Yeah,
so that means that like they just do shit to do it. Like it's not like they don't have the money.
They certainly do.
$1 trillion company. It's almost $1 trillion company, if not $8 trillion company. But
it is a multi-trillion-dollar company, in fact. So,
but you got rid of one of the developers that made. Okay, all right.
Yep.
Again, they're gonna have to explain to me why they keep getting rid of all these companies because they didn't hit their marks.
Hey, maybe they should have released it on PlayStation. Would have been more successful than it was. So, and it was already pretty successful. I mean, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, Microsoft is a third-party publisher now that happens to also make hardware sometimes that you can or cannot buy. It's up to you. So
when is the PlayStation 6 coming out? Since we're talking about hardware,
if I had to guess, I would say 2028, 2023 years. I would say.
So, Mass Effect 4 is going to be a launch title.
Yeah, there you go. That would be amazing.
We're almost 50 years old. Damn, yeah.
But hey, if you don't want to wait for PlayStation 6, Terrence, you can go ahead and buy your PlayStation games on PC. So even PlayStation's embracing the multi-platform strategy. But of course, one of the sticking points that they've had with a lot of their PC releases is the fact that Sony is requiring you to have a PSN account that you must log into to play their games on PC. A lot of people on PC were really pissed off about this. Kind of defeats the purpose of playing on PC if you don't own a console. Well, they are now dropping that foolish requirement of requiring you to have a PSN account, but they will still incentivize you to do it by giving you like extra in-game rewards if you do link your PSN account to specific games. Look, this is how they should have done it from the fucking start. I don't know why they were being so stubborn about this shit. I don't know why they had to fucking take such a hard line on this crap when they first rolled this out.
I don't know, man. Like, is it just like, hey, we got your information, and now we can?
That is all it is. It's a marketing thing. But like, I'm sorry. Like, if I'm playing God of War, like, why do I need to log into a PSN account? Like, that just doesn't make any fucking sense. It's a single player game. No online features. And the one game they probably should have done it for, they had to reverse course when they released Helldivers without the requirement, then added it, then had to pull it when people got pissed off about it.
What's wrong with you guys?
So, cool. Glad it took them a year to figure this shit out, but I'm so happy for them. In the final story, and again, I promised you guys more politics coming back around. So, we probably all saw the video going around shortly after Elon Musk did what certainly looked a hell of a lot like a Nazi salute at the Trump.
It was a Nazi salute.
Well, look, I'm going with the allegedly.
Like
yeah, I'm going with the allegedly.
No, I'm not.
So
I'm not. He can suck my dick. That was a Nazi salute.
Also, for all you people who are trying to justify that, well, he might be on the spectrum. Fuck off.
No. Yeah.
Fuck off. That's a terrible fucking line of thought. Get out of here.
Agreed. There was a priest who did the same thing a couple days later named Calvin Robinson at a national pro-life summit in Washington, D.C. He had been, I guess he still is, a big, traveling name in like right-wing circles.
Is he a coon?
I couldn't tell.
Oh man, Terrence, I have missed having you on this show, man.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at this dude's picture and I can't tell. It looks.
You got the you got the Kenan Thompson eyes, like.
Okay.
So
I don't like the cut of this guy's jib.
Well, you're about to like it even less. So he's like a right wing like fucking prick, right? And something I did not know is that not only was he a Catholic priest, he also was he used to be a games journalist and was one of the co-founders of God is a Geek, which is a independent
I've heard of this
games website. Yeah. So once he did this Nazi salute at this conference, the staff of God is a Geek, even though he doesn't technically like work with them, he's still listed as like an owner of the publishing company that runs the site. Basically, the staff decided to quit en masse and essentially shut down the site for all intents and purposes because they didn't want to be associated with the priest that was doing a fucking Nazi salute. Also, he was defrocked by the Anglican Catholic Church as well for performing this salute on stage.
Yeah.
Dude. Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question. I'm not a religious person.
Yeah.
Do they defrock pedophiles or do they just send them to different parishes?
They
Terrence,
mostly just send them to different parishes.
Do they fire cops? Or do they just send them to
different jurisdictions?
precincts?
Yeah.
You know what? It's weird what they fucking deem appropriate and inappropriate. Okay.
Here's the thing. Most priests don't get caught on camera diddling kids.
Yeah,
If this dude didn't get caught on camera doing a Nazi salute, he wouldn't have been defrocked. But
And
he
he's
was
black,
on camera.
I think he's black.
There's
I
no
can't
denying
really
that shit.
He's halfway there. He's halfway.
Okay.
So
what is?
Micah, what do you have to say for your
I
people?
don't stand.
What's going on here?
for my people.
Hang on. I mean Christians specifically. I just want to be very clear. I mean Christians.
What do you mean, you people?
No, this guy's Catholic. I'm not Catholic. Get out of here. No, those guys are weird.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. Christians also hate Catholics, which is the weirdest thing in the world to me.
No, it's not. You ever met a Catholic? It's not weird at all.
I mean, I used to be Catholic, so.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Catholicism is
A lot of my family is Catholic.
very.
Yeah, no, I don't want to go to church and see. I don't want to go to church and see druids. You know what I mean?
I want to go to the woods and see druids. I don't want to go to church.
I want to go to 1999. Where the Ministry of Darkness was about to sacrifice a CEO's daughter, and then a redneck had to come and save her. Those are and surrounded by druids. That's the only time I want to see druids.
Not the D&D table.
Word to any right-wing fascist types that might be thinking about going on camera and doing a Nazi salute. You are not Elon Musk, and will probably not receive the same level of deference that he largely has from a large portion of people, despite doing that. So just keep that in mind. You are not immune from those consequences.
Yeah, don't let your white manness like see that's why Brad is like he's going white guy because he knows right like that it's really a class thing too, right? Like don't let your white manness think that you can go around doing what other white men do unless you're the richest white man in the world, right? Like then you can, rob the American people blind. But you know, you're gonna fuck around and you're gonna find out.
Yeah. Lot of that going to be going around here in the coming
Whole
weeks.
lot of fucking around and finding out going on right now.
So
Ooh,
we're about to see. All right, one last break. When we come back, we'll talk about the Royal Rumble, and then we'll get to the post office. We don't have to spend a ton of time on the Royal Rumble because we did have a fun chat with the listeners in the Discord at denspixels.com/fans. But overall, what were your all's impressions of the event from this weekend?
I thought it was really good. I had a really good time watching it. There are, I think I enjoyed the women's rumble a little more than the men's rumble. The endings notwithstanding, I'm not one of those people that's gonna go on and on about like, I try not to be a hypocrite, but I will say that I am an unabashed Uso hater. So the ending of the men's rumble was just like, all right, fine, but like at the same time, like I had a good time watching. I thought it was a good show.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I had fun with it. The women's rumble was more fun. I liked the last 30 minutes of the men's rumble. Jey Uso winning, much like Micah, I'm not a big. I think all of his matches are fucking terrible. Right? I think his in-ring work is awful as a singles wrestler. So I don't know what they're going to do with him at at WrestleMania. Last year's WrestleMania with his brother was the worst match of the weekend, just by far. Right. But I did like the fact that they surprised us. Right. Like I was shocked when he won it. I was like, okay, cool, but again, he's a terrible in-ring performer for me. I also
Mike.
I don't have a problem with him on the mic.
Shut up. Shut up. Shut up.
The women's rumble was fun. I did not like the fact that Charlotte came back and won. I've never been. I recognize that she's very good. Right. Charlotte Flair is very good in the ring. I get that. Never been a big fan of her or Becky Lynch. I don't like those two for some reason. Something I can't put my finger on it. I'm not a fan of those two. Never have been a fan. And the fact that she just comes back. The fact that she just comes back and gets to go to WrestleMania, I'm like, you've been gone for a year. These women been putting in work, and they just gonna give it to you. I don't know if she's gonna win. I don't know who she's gonna wrestle. I just didn't like the fact that she came back and won. That ladder match was fucking awesome. I hope they're okay.
The ladder match fucking rips. I think the ladder match is my favorite thing.
Yeah, that match was fucking crazy. They went all out. I didn't expect them to go that violent. I hope they're okay. Like I said, I hop they're really not injured because they look like they beat the shit out of each other. There was one in particular. I think it was in the power bomb off the top. I think Owens like cracked his head on the fucking on the ladder.
Man, like on the
he took worse. It looked like it was worse for Cody, but no, like Kevin Owens hit the back of his head on like the corner of that fucking. It looked really bad. But he finished. He powered through it. But overall, it was pretty good.
Kevin Owens almost certainly has a fucking concussion after that shit. Like,
right. It was pretty brutal.
Just seeing him go through that ladder at the end, I was like, hell yeah. Shit ripped. Big fan of that ladder match. The tag team match, the DIY Motor City Machine Guns was fairly forgettable, I think. It was also pretty quick. It was like
12 minutes.
Yeah, for a 2 out of 3 falls match.
Or 2 out of 3 falls. That was really fast, man.
It was really fast.
I don't think the finish of that match did it any favors.
No.
Either.
It's like I had literally like gotten up to like make myself something to eat and figuring it was gonna go longer because it was a 2 out of 3 falls tag team match. And then I sat back down and they were like, and it's over. And I was like, what?
So I will say, if you want a good time, if you go on WWE's YouTube, they did do a backstage segment that they put online with Kathy Kelly interviewing Ciampa and Gargano after that match as they were like iced up in the back, and that was very funny. I would recommend going out of your way to check that out if you get a chance. So they are both very good.
I really enjoyed the men's rumble opening with Rey Mysterio versus Penta. I thought that was a really choice move, like opening with 2 lucha folks. I just thought that was very stylish of them.
Also, get your politics out of my Royal Rumble. Yeah, I really appreciated the 4 Hispanic dudes surrounding
that was pretty great.
All-American prick.
Surrounding Chad Gable getting his shit rocked.
Kicking him in the face.
Yeah. Appreciated
it wasn't
that.
lost on me. They used all of the minorities to kick him in his head.
Fucking Ludwig Kaiser lasting a whopping 6 seconds too, just getting his shit rocked too. Like, fuck that little dude too. I was surprised to see The Miz there. That was kind of funny. That it felt like a requisite cameo appearance from The Miz more than anything else.
Well, he's always in the Rumble. Like they mentioned, he has the second most Rumble appearances now of anybody, which is quite a feat. So.
Yeah.
Like I don't know who,
man. Good lord, who's been doing it? For
especially because he was like a real world guy.
Yeah.
Who
I
just
watched that
liked
season,
wrestling.
man.
Yeah, I watched that season.
I watched that season. New York, back to
yeah.
New York.
Yeah, I remember Coral, big ass.
I remember Coral too.
Forehead. Yeah, that's the only thing big on her that I will talk about right now. I don't know who that black guy is, but I feel like he needs to hire Ben Crump because what happened to him looked like a hate crime.
I should speed.
Yeah.
He's a fucking YouTuber,
that shit was
apparently,
fucking.
yeah.
That's blood breakup. I legitimately felt bad for that kid.
That was the same guy. That was the same guy that got RKO'd by Randy Orton.
Yeah,
that was in
Randy
the Prime
Orton
model
RKO'd
at
his ass.
WrestleMania last year.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, look,
that
he's
dude
really
got
good at it. He's really
mollywopped, man. Like, I literally, like that kid. I was like, is he breathing? Like, he got hit so hard. I was like, I'm worried he might like have lost the ability to breathe for a second.
He probably wasn't acting.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Yeah, he probably
wasn't.
Yeah, here's the thing. Jey Uso I could give a shit about, but what they did with like Seth Rollins and CM Punk and that whole thing, and Drew McIntyre, all that shit, afterwards, was like way more interesting. Or, and Roman and all that. That was way more interesting than Jey Uso winning the Rumble to me. Like, they're clearly setting up some further shit with Seth Rollins, and
that's why I like the last 30 minutes. There was a whole lot of setup for Jey Uso to win.
Yeah.
So that was great. I did, like I said, that last 30 minutes was great. Jey Uso, whatever, man. He's popular. The fans love it. Yeet, whatever.
I mean, look,
I remember when I stopped watching for a little bit,
man.
and then all of a sudden I started watching again. I had stopped watching for maybe like 3 or 4 months, and then I came back, and this nigga was saying yeet, and I'm like, what? From like years ago?
Right. Is it 2008? Or is it 2018? Like, what are we doing?
I mean, look,
Also-
that being said, like, I was also a little like shocked, and then all of a sudden I look over and my son is like sitting there doing this, and I'm like, okay, I get it. I get it. I understand. We're good.
There it is.
He's super over. And I also did like what I liked Cena's little speech at the presser at the end. He was like, I ain't taking questions, but like he got serious. I thought that was dope.
Yeah.
I'm hoping he does like a little bit of heel run for his last like year. Probably not.
I mean, I'm pretty sure whoever Jey Uso is facing. I'm pretty sure John Cena is going to be in the other match. I would imagine.
Yeah.
For the world title. So we'll see what happens there. So, but yeah, like I said, overall solid show. People got real mad about Jey Uso. I told friend of the show Chris online, like, imagine going back into a time machine to like 2011, 2012, and telling your past self that in 2025 people would be really upset that John Cena didn't win the Royal Rumble, and see how you would react to that. So very cool. Let's go to the post office, where you can ask us questions by going to densepixels.com/fans and joining our Discord. I'm going to jump around a little bit because we'll stay on the wrestling train. Cam asks, our number one wrestling himbo won the Royal Rumble. What chance do you people think he has of winning the big boy belt at Mania? And do you think Gunther is a lock for his opponent?
I feel like Gunther's probably up there for his opponent, right? Like,
well, it's 1 out of 2. It's either going to be him or Cody Rhodes. So
yeah, I'm gonna go with Gunther.
Yeah,
and
it's gonna be Gunther.
But they've already wrestled several times, right? Haven't they?
They have, but there's your underdog story of like it's literally the same story that they told with Sami Zayn last year.
Yeah, which is why they should have. Which is why they should have had Kevin Owens win the belt, have Sami Zayn win the Rumble. You legitimately could argue that he has a tough decision to make. If Kevin Owens is the champion, then you can play on all of their history. If Gunther is the champion and he chooses him, he could say, hey, I ended the longest reigning intercontinental title run that you had, and I'm going to do it again. Like, I don't know.
And it would be a better match with whatever.
And it would be a better match. And Sami Zayn is over. But look, I'm an Uso hater, so I would just qualify that.
I think
with a grain of salt.
I think there's also a compelling story that you could tell with Cody as well. I mean, him and Jay were literally the tag team champions together for a cup of coffee, if you guys recall.
Oh my god! Yeah, I remember because that's where Yeet was born. The two dummies were drunk at a press conference and was like, "Yeah." I was like, all right, yo. All right.
Speaking of Gunther, by the way, my favorite sign that was held up in front of the cameras was the dude holding up "Bring Back Thick Gunther." Did appreciate that, dude.
It took me a while to get to understand Gunther's appeal. I get it now. He's good. I can enjoy his matches. He's one of the better guys on the roster.
I mean, look, you gotta love a dude that just literally beats the shit out of people for 30 minutes. So
yeah,
the rest of the round. Look. I've been watching wrestling for 40 years. Just in-ring work for the last couple years. Look, man, it's been sloppy as fuck. Like, I swear to God, I'll be watching like, yo, this match is terrible.
And you're not even watching AEW.
No, I'm not.
So you think WWE is sloppy? Woo,
most
boy.
of it is worse. Yeah, most of it is worse. You get like the cream really does rise to the top, but it's like the top of like a shit sundae. You know what I mean? Like it's.
I'll be watching matches. I'm like, y'all can see the gears turning. It used to be just like, and I'm being sexist, but like a lot of the women's matches, I'm like, you can see the gears turning when they're doing matches. And now it's like, even in the men's matches, I'm like, what the fuck are y'all doing?
It's what happens when you complicate things. I mean, like I said, but the wrestling used to be simpler. Also, like you didn't have all these, very elaborate sequences that I'm sure are pre-planned and stuff like that.
Like
so.
Even back then, like, look, I was watching an old match, Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio, like their match for the title at I don't remember. It was maybe it was Monday Nitro. Look, man, those matches were crazy.
Yeah,
but now even those type of matches now, I'm just like, I can see the setup before you do the move. Like, what the fuck are y'all doing?
If you listen,
like
if it's not mic'd properly, you can hear them do the call, right?
Like, I don't know what's going on. This is making more money than it ever has because like they're selling tickets at an exorbitant amount of money, Like again, they had the biggest.
No,
gate
no,
that
no,
you've
Terrence.
ever
The
had.
building is getting bigger, right? The building is getting bigger. That's why they're getting.
They're adding more seats. That's why. We had the largest gate in the history of the. Oh, I'm like, all right, Triple H. No one cares.
It is pretty funny. It is pretty notable that they used to do like the attendance figures. Now they talk about.
Now they're
just,
like, we made the
dollars,
most money we've ever made. Like, all right, nigga.
Right.
People are like, people can't afford eggs, and you talking about, well, they can afford eggs. They can afford these fucking tickets. But all right, anyway.
Yeah. Malcolm, you can imagine, is very excited about the rumblings. Hope everyone is well and happy Black History Month, aka Triple K's least favorite time of year. That dude is never gonna soften on Triple H. He hates him so much. But I digress. Which will happen first, Montez Porter's push or the release of GTA 6?
Oh, GTA 6, 100%.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Yeah, GTA 6. Like I'm not even joking. Like it's GTA 6.
It's unfortunate.
Like if that push hasn't started by now, like it's gonna be wild. Yeah. Like Angelo Dawkins is literally fucking injured. Like Montez Ford could be out here having singles matches every week if they wanted to. And
Montez Ford is an underutilized fucking talent. And
I agree.
It's criminal. It is kind of criminal that he hasn't gone into singles. And Dawkins isn't bad either. He's not a bad wrestler. Like their matches are good. Like of the like the tag teams and the roster, their matches are always pretty solid. And Montez Ford is very good.
That's another team I feel has been underserved. I guess you could say. Like they should have had a long title run on the
but let's give Jey Uso a main event push. Let's give Jey Uso a main event push over Montez Ford. All right,
Jey Uso's selling t-shirts right now, so
all that matters, man. That's literally all that matters.
God,
I swear to God, his matches fucking suck, yo. Good lord.
Also, like look, maybe I'm being sensitive, okay? Maybe I'm being sensitive, right? But like when the Usos came out, when they were first out, they were just like Samoans, right? Mm-hmm. I'm Samoan. Here's my face paint. I'm do the haka. I'm do the step show. I'm Samoan. I have pretty good matches as a tag team. Mm-hmm. And then they weren't getting over. So you know what they do when they get over? Do you know how they change themselves up? They become a PG version of Crime Time. They just become a couple of niggas in some Air Forces, and that's how they get over. What? They become urban? When you got urban people on the roster? Like, yeah, all right.
Micah,
really makes me mad.
Micah, have you considered that maybe that gimmick is more akin to how they are in real life?
Maybe. It wouldn't surprise me at all. All right, yo. All right. It's just annoying. That's all. It's just annoying.
I mean, look at Fatu,
Yeah.
From the Bay. Like, look.
Right.
Fatu's a nigga, yeah.
I mean, look. I mean, look.
I can't wait for him to I want him to become champion at some point.
I mean, look.
He's very good.
I know your hair braided. Don't get it twisted. Like, all right, yo. All right. I'll give you that. You know who not saying stuff like that? Jey Uso.
He's not even from the Bay.
He's still saying
Sacramento.
He's still saying yeet, yo. He's still saying yeet. What? That shit was popular when WWE was in the shitter in 2019. Like, what do we do? All right. I'm done.
Hey,
I'm with you.
You are a hater, but like, I'm
I am. Yo.
I don't get it.
Mike over here.
Good for him.
Disrespect
Kudos to him. You've been in there for like 17
excellence.
years. Don't do that. Don't do that. Not during Black History Month, Brad. It's February 3rd. Don't do that.
Oh, moving on for wrestling. Mark says, time to get ill. How have you found your taste in genres change as you get older, or have they?
They have not. I still really only play RPGs and farming sims.
It hasn't changed, but like I'm a huge fan of the new genre of roguelikes. I don't know the difference between a roguelike or a roguelite. What's the difference, Brad?
Meta progression. Like if the game has a lot of meta progression, then it's a roguelite. But if it does not have a lot of meta progression, then it's a rogue Like. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Correct.
Okay.
whatever.
Yeah.
I just like that genre. I've grown to really like that genre, and I've grown to like games where you don't have to do a lot. Cozy games, if you will. Dave the Diver, I wouldn't consider a cozy game.
I know a lot of people that would consider that a cozy game, or at least half of it.
Is it?
At least half
Okay.
of it. Like
Yeah,
the
because
sushi,
you gotta
the
run
sushi restaurant part. Yeah.
I like that. Like, what the first game I did of that was Moonlighter. I love that game. Right? Remember that game?
You know, there's Moonlighter 2 coming out this year.
Oh, I'm gonna definitely look at that one.
Yeah.
I mean, I like those types of games. Yeah. Not a big fan of RPGs anymore because I can't. I hate all of the fucking cutscenes and the reading and shit. I don't do all that.
Yeah, my tastes have broadened. There's a lot of genres that I'm into now that I couldn't have imagined being into when I was younger, like strategy games and stuff like that. And I will say, if there's anything that's kind of gotten left behind, I used to really be into sports games, and I really do not play sports games anymore.
Yeah, I don't. I played all. Yeah, I did play a lot of Madden and then NFL games. I couldn't give a fuck less anymore. I just don't care. Then once it became too complicated, you start doing button combinations to shoot the basketball, to shoot the ball. I'm like, all right, man, I don't. No thanks.
Once they started using, you got to use the right stick to cross people up, and you got to do the motion to cross people. I don't want to do all that. Like, I'd rather just learn how to play basketball like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I don't.
NBA Jam.
Right. Yeah.
C. Kent asks, in a world where people can only play games from a single franchise or series, what is your franchise and series, and why?
Pokemon. Because there's a lot. Because you got your mainline Pokemon games, and then you've also got all the spin-offs, right? You got your Pokemon trading card game, you got your Pokemon Snap, you got Pokemon Puzzle, you got Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, Pokemon Ranger, Pokemon Go, Pokemon.
Why is this turning into the shrimp speech from Forza?
You're right.
Pokemon Puzzle Ranger, Pokemon Mainline, Pokemon Dungeon.
Snap, Picross, Pokemon Pinball, all that shit. Yeah, I like Pokemon.
I've never played Pokemon.
I was thinking Mario for the same reason, but then I'm like, nah, I would rather just play Pokemon.
Yeah, those can be mastered, whereas Pokemon has a little bit more replayability. For me, like, you'd have to find something that's like near infinitely replayable and releases at a fairly regular cadence. And I feel like for me, that game is that series is probably the Monster Hunter series now at this point.
Ooh,
so
yeah.
That's what that would have been my because I did like Monster Hunter World.
Mm-hmm.
It was the one that came out that reinvigorated this.
That was World.
It was World.
That was World. Yeah, I really like World. I haven't played one since, but
we're all about to get fucked up on Wilds once that comes out.
I can't think of another series. I have no idea. One series?
Yeah, it's tough.
Or franchise, you know.
Like nothing. If I had to pick one, I'd be like, all right, I'm done. And I've done it.
I'd probably just
go without playing anything.
I'd probably just pick Final Fantasy.
That's not a bad one. It's a lot of content. You have 14, which you know.
You have 14, and you've also got you've got fighting games in there too. You've got fighting games, you got racing games.
Oh, didn't you put 100 hours into the city or some shit like that? Or you unlocked every character?
100. 100.
100. Whatever it was.
Try multiplying that by 3, and then you're a little bit closer to the actual number there.
Yeah.
Which one was it?
It was the city of the first one, and it was every character to 99 on PSP. Yeah, every character to 99.
Christ, man.
Yeah. That's what you do when you work for the local government. You just sit there and grind.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness!
And now instead, you have medication, right? Like you're taking something for that. Right?
No, it's just getting old. It's just called getting old. I ain't got time for all that. There's a lot of time wasted, yo. That's a lot of time that was just wasted getting everybody to 99. But that's just part of my, my little OCD or whatever.
Yeah. And Carrie, real quick, what's your go-to Pokemon trading card game portable deck?
I have a
Or
Charizard
Pocket.
EX deck, and I like that. And I have an electric deck that focuses on Pikachu EX. They just put out a big expansion a couple days ago, so I'm working on getting the cards from that so that I can start building decks in there. And all I have to say about TCG Pocket is that if you use the Celebi Superior combo, you're a little bitch, and I hope you fucking fall down a well. I hate that. I hate that everybody in Versus online is using these fucking Celebi Superior decks. That's a little bitch move. You a little bitch. That's all I gotta say about that.
And last question. We'll get the other two on the next episode just because we're running short on time. But Casa asks, I figured this would be a good one to answer now. What's a cathartic way for you to blow off steam lately, gaming or otherwise?
Yeah.
Taking pictures of toys. This is what I do.
Yeah. Going to the gym, listening to loud, angry music while I'm on a treadmill or lifting weights, or just like working on music and putting that sort of pent up energy into something kind of productive and creative. So, if you're wondering why I'm putting out a lot of music recently, it's because the world is fucked and it's my
You
one
need
way.
something.
It's my one way of being able to exercise a little bit of control over it.
I also listen to podcasts that do not involve politics,
Yeah.
and probably like listening to podcasts that don't involve politics while like being on the stationary bike.
And for me, I've got a couple. Like I've been getting into meditation lately because that's actually very effective if you need to like come down real quick. And if I'm feeling really stressed out and it's the evening, I may partake in some edible, candy
Arrangements.
and
Arrangements.
listen to lyricless, like kind of like zone out music, like the Persona series soundtracks are fucking excellent for that.
There you go. That's what I'm talking
Micah's
about.
favorite
Fuck
genre,
lyrics.
music that doesn't listen,
Fuck
that doesn't have
lyrics.
lyrics.
Yeah, well,
Lyrics stink.
So you could just you could just zone basically, like you just kind of get lost in the zen of it all, and that works. Really well,
what's a pretty good song that has terrible lyrics? It's just me, Oos. Day one ish is just me, Oos. Day one.
I will say his brother definitely got the better end of the theme song. Music there.
Which brother?
The
Solo?
twin brother, not the.
I like Solo's. I like Solo's.
It's okay.
Song until they start singing.
Right, like I said, the beginning is cool, and then they start rapping. I'm like, okay, that's enough.
Yeah, I was like, all right, yeah. Def Rebel sucks, guys. Anyway,
He certainly does. Oh man, we didn't even get to talk about whatever that Finn Balor entrance music was. That
no one knew who the fuck he was.
yeah,
Like,
the whole fucking arena was
okay.
silent. It's like, oh, it's Finn Balor. What the fuck?
Oh, okay.
Where did that come from?
Awful.
Dude,
I noticed they went back to what's his name, old music.
Yeah, AJ Styles' old
AJ
music,
Styles, because they're like that shit
as
was
they should.
trash also.
But no, like Finn Balor has had nothing but like fucking excellent theme music in his whole time in WWE, and then they raw this whatever the fuck that was last night. So
You're terrible.
if it ain't broke, don't fix it, guys. Jesus fucking Christ. Learn when you got a banger on your hands. So yeah, like I said, we'll get to the other questions next episode. Thank you guys for submitting those this week. Again, if you're not a member of our Discord, densepixels.com/fans. If you want to consume this in video format, this podcast every week, go to youtube.com/densepixels. Click the subscribe button. Click the like button, helps us out, helps more people find the podcast. Share it with your friends. If you prefer listening through podcast apps, you can find us as well as all the other shows in the network just by searching up TNP Studios. And you'll find Dense Pixels that are in Apocalypse, Black and Black Cinema, and Look Forward. And of course, if you want the full episode of Look Forward, if you want to understand what the fuck is going on in this insane country of the United States that we live in right now every week, subscribe to TNP Studios Premium. Go to densepixels.com/premium. It's just $5 a month to subscribe there to get all of me and Jay's thoughts, including the stuff that we leave behind the paywall very intentionally. So, that's going to be it for this week. Thank you guys very much for watching and listening, and we will see you all the next time.
See ya.
Yeah.
You're watching the Dense Pixels YouTube channel. Click the subscribe button while you're here and make sure you check out our weekly podcast where we discuss the latest gaming news and our impressions on what games we've been playing.